how to get rid of acne dark marks with these 5 ingredients that you can get over the counter, because what is worse than breaking out and having acne that stays on your face for 2 weeks? Having redness or brown spots that the acne leaves over that can last 6 months or even years. Let's talk about the 5 best ingredients, how these ingredients actually work inside of your skin, and what's causing this redness or this darkness to happen in the first place. And we first have to differentiate between the redness and the darkness, because although this can look a lot like this, they might not actually be the same. When it comes to the acne, most of the color that is left behind is because of inflammation. When you think about the pathogenesis or how acne comes to be, it's bacteria in the skin. It farts and poops after it eats the oil in your face. And you can imagine that all of that inside of one of your little pores causes a lot of swelling and therefore inflammation. And that inflammation is what can be really damaging. Now, what happens when something gets inflamed? Imagine, spraining your ankle or getting your finger stuck in a door jamb, which guess what you did with her finger recently? Yep, I got it stuck in a door jamb. I'm just out here being clumsy with my appendages recently. Anyways, when something is injured and inflamed, it swells up, it brings heat to the area, and it brings blood flow to the area. That blood flow is what brings your immune cells, your body's little defense fighters, to come help deal with the issue. And while that's great and it's part of the healing process, when it happens with acne, that inflammation and bringing that blood flow to the area causes new little blood vessels to grow. Now, while those blood vessels can be helpful to fight the acne infection, what do blood vessels leave behind, especially on thin skin? Redness. And so a lot of times the acne redness that we see, especially in lighter skin tones, is literally the blood vessels that your face grew to help get rid of the acne infection. And for people who have darker skin, a lot of people look in the mirror and they think that they have brown or purple spots. A lot of times those purple spots are just looking purple or brown, but they are actually red, and they're from the same blood vessel formation that's happening inside the skin. Now, there is a difference. If they've been on the skin for quite some time, they can actually leave behind iron deposits. You know how your blood has iron in it? Well, if that iron from the blood is deposited into the skin, it can leave behind dark, lasting marks. And that is much more difficult to get rid of, although there are ways. But one of the best things that you can do if you notice that your acne tends to get really red and inflamed, and then it leaves behind these red or slightly purple marks, the best thing you can do is reach for medically proven ingredients to try to prevent that color from setting in. And of course, SPF, your BFF, to prevent any lasting damage overall. Now, when acne specifically leaves behind dark marks, it is different than things like melasma. It is different than hormonal changes in the body that might be causing color changes in the skin. That's why it's so important to get a diagnosis. You can get a diagnosis from a doctor or a derm, or there are even online telehealth services that can match you with dermatologists or care providers who can look at your skin. We are working with Agency on a portion of this video to talk about the science of these ingredients and how they actually work and which ones are right for you. And Agency provides prescriptions that are blended to your skin specifically based on what you need. And remember that, for me, my acne might need a formula that also helps with wrinkles or with a little bit of the oiliness I get on my nose and on my forehead. Whereas for someone else, they might need an acne treatment that also deals with pigmentation or another skin condition. And that's why it is so important to know, number 1, that skincare is individualized, but number 2, what are some of the 5 most common ingredients that are used to get rid of the dark marks that acne can leave behind, and how do these ingredients actually work? Let's start with azelaic acid, because this stuff is fantastic, and for a lot of people, it's super easy to use. There are different forms of azelaic acid. Again, this one is from Agency in a dark spot formula that's combined with other dark spot fighters, and this one right here is the Paula's Choice 10% azelaic acid booster. Azelaic acid is what's called a dicarboxylic acid. Our bodies make it naturally, but it can also be found in things like rye. Yes, we're talking about your rye bread. Azelaic acid, baby! Yes, next time you eat your rye sandwich, think about that, okay? Think about that. Azelaic acid is fantastic because it actually helps prevent tyrosinase from making your skin darker. Tyrosinase is the enzyme inside of your skin and body that allows your skin to produce the pigment. And the super cool thing about azelaic acid is that it stops that tyrosinase in the skin cells that are being overactive, those ones that are proliferating and making themselves really quickly that are causing that overactive darkness, but it doesn't target skin cells that are elsewhere on your body. So you don't have to worry about azelaic acid changing your skin color or anything like that. And that also means that if you've had a mark that's been on your face for quite some time, this might not be the right option, but especially when you see that acne, put some azelaic acid on. Not only does it help with the pigmentation, but azelaic acid can also fight fight the acne bacteria. It's really phenomenal. A lot of people don't see irritation with it, and it really is a skincare superhero. And of course, we can't talk about acne or pigmentation without talking about retinoids. Now, there are different strengths of retinoids. Remember that retinol is over the counter, whereas retinoic acid is the strong stuff, the prescription stuff, also called tretinoin. This right here has 0.1% tretinoin in it in my formula, and this right here is the gram-active retinoid emulsion. This is more of a serum. It's super liquidy. It goes onto the skin lightweight, whereas this is a little bit thicker, like a cream, and this stuff is potent. But both of these work by going into the skin, and this one gets transformed a couple times, whereas this one doesn't need any transformation, but they both bind to the RAR and RXR receptors in skin. It's basically this retinoic acid binding receptor, and your skin literally has receptors that hold on to these ingredients because these ingredients are made naturally by our bodies, specifically in our eyes. But what happens when the skincare here binds to the receptors in our skin? It causes a chain of reactions, literally telling our skin, build more skin cells better. It literally creates EGF, epidermal growth factor, which relates to the epidermis, the top of the skin, growth, grow more of yourselves, and factor. It's a factor in the growth of these new skin cells. And what that does is actually speeds up skin cell turnover, meaning it helps with acne, but it also helps with hyperpigmentation. It even helps with wrinkles and other things as well. Retinoids are fantastic, and they're called a gold standard in dermatology for a reason. And again, you can get really gentle formulas over the counter, very low irritation and might take more time to work, and they're very affordable. It's like $10. You can also get very expensive options for hundreds of dollars if you want to go with like a really fancy cream, or you can go for the prescription stuff. Again, this one is from Agency. It's custom blended with other ingredients for my acne and my dark spots. However, you can also get straight up tretinoin if you want to. And you have to speak with your doctor or care provider to figure out what percentage is going to be best for you. But retinoids are a gold standard for a reason. And yes, they work for both acne as well as the marks and the redness that it can leave behind. Now, what if you don't want to go with a prescription and you're a little bit worried about retinoids in general? You've heard they can be irritating and you just want something easy that you can like pick up at the drugstore and slap on your face. A great non-prescription option for redness and the dark marks that acne leaves behind is vitamin C. Vitamin C is amazing, and there are so many different forms of it. L-ascorbic acid is one of the most common, but there are other types such as magnesium ascorbyl phosphate or sodium ascorbyl phosphate. And depending on which vitamin C serum you pick up, you might get a different type of vitamin C. But in general, vitamin C is wonderful for any dark marks that can be left behind on skin. Vitamin C is an antioxidant, meaning it fights against the free radical damage that comes at us from the sun and from the inflammation in our skin, but it also works against tyrosinase. Remember, tyrosinase is that enzyme that tells our skin how much of the melanin, how much of the dark pigment to produce. And vitamin C can really help with this, as well as boost up your sunscreen. Vitamin C is best used in the morning, and again, there are so many different types. You could use it morning or evening. L-ascorbic acid is the most common, but I really love sodium ascorbyl phosphate if you have acne. One of my favorite serums is from True Skin. It's the vitamin C and hyaluronic acid serum. Mine got stolen out of the back of my motherfucking car when I got broken into in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I don't even have my vitamin C serum, but that's amazing. That one's more of a liquid. You can also get vitamin C face washes, you can get leave-on creams, you can get vitamin C combined with your sunscreen, which is also a great way to go if you want to cut down on steps in your routine. But vitamin C is fantastic because it literally stops the skin from being able to create that pigment in the first place. And vitamin C is known to be very, very brightening. Unlike azelaic acid that only targets the cells that are overcreating themselves, vitamin C does really brighten the entire canvas, the Picasso that is your face. And if you haven't been called a Picasso recently, baby, you are a fine piece of art. Don't forget it. And vitamin C is known to be brightening. It's an antioxidant booster. And yes, it is something you can use at home in your routine every single day that you get at the drugstore that actually works for some of those dark marks that acne can leave behind. This one right here, this is from Beauty Pie. These are these vitamin C biodegradable capsules. I love these. If you're guilty of popping your pimples, which your acne big sister is absolutely guilty of it. Guilty? These are like, oh, tiny little pimples. Did you see that? Did you see it? It's like... If you're a pimple popper, this stuff is so much fun. And then this little capsule can be biodegraded in your sink or in your garden. I freaking love it. This one also goes on so silky smooth. Beauty Pie without the Costco subscription thing, it's like 60, 70 bucks. Still worth every penny. But if you have the Beauty Pie subscription, these are like 20, 30 bucks. I've seen them as low as 15, worth every penny. And vitamin C, regardless of whether it's L-ascorbic acid, magnesium ascorbyl phosphate, tetrahexadecyl ascorbate, choose a vitamin C that works for you and your price point, but add that to your morning routine. And of course, we can't forget about kojic acid. Kojic acid is phenomenal. It comes from mushrooms. It also comes from fermented sake, which is a type of Japanese rice wine, but kojic acid is phenomenal because, again, of how it works with or really against tyrosinase. Remember, tyrosinase is this enzyme that tells our skin how fast it can create pigment, and tyrosinase loves copper. Well, kojic acid is a copper chelator, so it basically says, you, tyrosinase, and it takes the copper away, so tyrosinase can't use it, can't have it. And that means that the tyrosinase can't let your skin create that uneven pigment in the first place. Kojic acid is amazing. It works really well in topical formulas, such as this one. Again, this one is really beautiful. This one blends some of the most potent ingredients, prescription and non-prescription, in a dark spot formula. This one's from Agency. I f***ing love this for my skin. I ate, and I've been putting it on my elbow, and this, oh my God, it works so well right here. I love it. But even if you don't have it blended together in a custom dark spot formula for your face, kojic acid is so good, and you can get it usually in different serums or moisturizers that you can then apply to the skin. It works really well. It does take time, but it's a little bit more gentle than some other things, whereas depending on the type of vitamin C you get, it could sting a little bit, and depending on the type of retinoid you get, the retinoids could be powerful. But kojic acid is wonderful because it can be integrated into a routine really easily, and because it literally chelates the copper, making sure that tyrosinase can't use it, it's stopping that uneven pigment in its tracks. And that stops it from settling into your skin. And we cannot speak about dark spots and acne without speaking about hydroquinone. Now, hydroquinone used to be readily available over the counter. It used to be a little bit easier to get your hands on. Now, you need to jump through some hoops to get it. Again, it's in my dark spot formula. If you do want to sign up for Agency, they can match you with a provider and get you some super easy. But hydroquinone is a powerful little ingredient that is wonderful, but you do need to make sure that you're working with an expert and under their care in order to get it. Hydroquinone is amazing, and it's actually related to alpha arbutin, which you can still get over the counter. Again, this right here is 4% hydroquinone in my formula from Agency, but this right here is alpha arbutin from the Inky list. Alpha arbutin and hydroquinone are related to each other, and it's because alpha arbutin turns itself into hydroquinone inside of your skin. But alpha arbutin, you can get this off a drugstore, you can get this at Sephora, you can get this wherever the you get the Inky list skincare. Whereas with the potent stuff, you do need to go get hydroquinone from a doctor, from a derm, or from a company like Agency who can match you with a care provider. Now, hydroquinone is super special because of the way it works, again, on that tyrosinase enzyme. Now, hydroquinone is potent. Yes, it works for the dark marks that acne leaves behind, but some doctors and dermatologists also prescribe hydroquinone for things like sunspots, for melasma, for uneven pigmentation, for what's called dyschromia, or a dysfunction in the color of the skin, and yes, even for bothersome freckles. Now, the thing about hydroquinone is that it needs to be started and stopped really strategically depending on how you're using it and how much of it you're using, and that's why you do need to see a professional in order to make sure that it's working with your skincare routine, whereas alpha arbutin is much more gentle. It's transformed by your skin into hydroquinone, so you don't have to start and stop it in the same ways that hydroquinone requires, because with hydroquinone, you can actually get what's called rebound hyperpigmentation, where the pigment comes back worse. And with alpha arbutin, that's not as much of an issue. Remember that tyrosinase enzyme that all of these different ingredients are kind of working on? Well, what happens is that tyrosinase turns into what's called dopa, also known as dihydroxyphenylalanine. And if you can stop that process from happening, again, like with the vitamin C, with the kojic acid, with anything, you don't get the pigmentation. Well, hydroquinone does a great job of stopping that dopa from being created, stops the tyrosinase in its tracks. And again, hydroquinone is one of those ingredients that was literally the gold standard, and it still is. If you can get your hands on it and you have melasma, acne marks that leave behind darkness, pigmentation, this stuff is good. Just use it and follow directions. And if you want something a little bit more gentle, again, alpha arbutin turns itself into hydroquinone that then has that impact of stopping tyrosinase from turning into dopa. And it says, nopa, you can gopa and get the f out of this person's face or their body or wherever else they put it. Hydroquinone is fantastic. I think it's such a tragedy that it's not more widely available anymore. I guess there were some concerns with how people were using it, the rebound hyperpigmentation and liver stuff, etc. But it is safe when used appropriately and given to you by the right people. And again, if you don't want to use that, you got other options. And when it comes to treating the red and the brown and little purple spots that acne leaves behind, like, it's so frustrating. It's like I just lived with this pimple on my face or on my chest or on my shoulder for so long, and now that the pimple is gone and the inflammation is gone, it's supposed to be over, but I've got this spot that's sticking around. Again, prevention is easier than treatment. So if you can start using any of these ingredients or all of them combined in a wonderful custom formula, if you can do that immediately when you see the pimple coming on, you're going to have the best chance of stopping the acne from creating that inflammation and leaving that vascular blood flow to that area in the first place, which can then prevent it from becoming those dark marks and those spots or even scars and post-inflammatory erythema or post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation down the line. Prevention is easier than treatment. And along with your acne meds, whether it's salicylic acid, benzoyl peroxide, retinoids, or sulfur, all of these are gold standards in treating acne. Try asking your care provider or using one of these top 5 ingredients for the pigmentation part as well, because these work so well in combination and can really get you the best results for your acne and the dark spots overall. Again, a huge thanks to Agency for working with us on a portion of this video, allowing us to share the science behind how these ingredients work and making sure that you have access to affordable skincare. Because yes, you could literally spend $200 on a really expensive retinol cream. Go for it if you have the money. Or you could spend literally under $30 on a product like this that is custom blended to your skin and has the potent prescription strength tretinoin in it. You could also spend $180 on some vitamin C ferulic hot dog water, or you could get yourself a custom blended dark spot formula for, again, under 30 bucks. That you could also put on areas like your elbow if you fell and ate on a deck one day. There are so many amazing ingredients like azelaic acid and vitamin C that I wish everyone knew about. Heck, I wish I knew about these and how they worked when I was 16 so that I could actually care for my acne and care for my skin and understand the beauty of my biology and the cosmetic chemistry of how these things are working together to take care of me and my beautiful skin cells. Now, there are other ingredients that are also really good for the post-inflammatory erythema or post-inflammatory hyper or hypopigmentation. Let me know if you want another video on those, but for now, I'm gonna leave all of the links to these products as well as some medical studies that explain how these work in the description. And of course, a coupon for Agency if this is something that you want to try. Overall, remember to stay hydrated. Continue being a skintellectual. You are brilliant, babe. Again, you are fine art. You are a Picasso. You are a Vincent van Gogh painting. You are as rare and precious as the Mona Lisa, and don't forget it. And always remember to reapply that sunscreen because none of this matters if you're not protecting it from the sun, and be beautiful both inside and out. I love you, and I cannot wait to see you in this next video. Love you guys. Bye.